welcome. Welcome here to my podcast, The Human Side of AI Transformation. This is a space, it's a safe space actually to really investigate about how humans are acting or reacting to AI, what is happening to us, to our needs, to our approach. And I'm very, very pleased and welcome to have you here today. We've been working together in the past. So we do share some background. I had the immense pleasure to meet you while we were working in a tech company a few years ago. Khatoun, I really would like to ask you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Roberta. Very excited to be here today. My name is Khatoun. I'm an L&D specialist, certified coach, and currently finalizing my Gestalt therapy practice. So very much focused on people, I'd say. I've been working in tech for the past 10 years, startups, scale-ups, and more established companies. And now I'm currently on the entrepreneur side of things. So that's also where we connected again.
Nice. Thank you for your introduction. I'm glad you are already mentioning the spicy things, and the audience will actually understand why I choose you to have this conversation. So you are already saying like a very much people focus, of course, and you have a very interesting like a puzzle of experience, right? So you've been mentioning like L&D. There is this coaching experience, which of course also changed my life somehow. Then we're gonna go into the nitty gritty, and then very recently the Gestalt therapy. So of course my goal for today is to really having a better understanding of how people like you, with your experience background in organization as learning and development, and with these very interesting pieces of going deep into the human experience, can actually shape the approach that we have today with AI. What is the role of this inner work in the AI transformation, and of course the impact on the human side of it?
Awesome.
Nice. Okay, so let's probably start a very quick question on your L&D experience, right? Because you've been facing actually the transformation, right? A few years ago, I would say like 3-4 years ago, AI wasn't yet that thing as it is today, especially the impact on the learning experience wasn't the same as it is right now. So I'm really curious to hear like from your recent experience how you've seen this change, if you've been noticing a change phase. So what is artificial intelligence and technology has actually always been part of our experience on the way people and talent have been engaging and interacting and using on a daily basis technology. But have you noticed any specific change on the way people within organization are interacting with the learning experience due to AI?
Yeah, very good question. A few things from my personal experience that I have witnessed. There are a lot of things that requests that we would usually get, which now people can kind of be much more proactive and maybe don't need a whole training on things, but rather need specific information in a specific moment of time. So some kind of trainings are, or even reading specific books on a topic might not be that relevant anymore. And people can kind of go on their own and find the right solution in the right time. So we have seen a bit of a shift in that regard. Something that I've still seen kind of in a lot of demand is actually collaborative skills, team collaboration, communication, again, also coming the hybrid work or having international teams being in different places located. So those kind of needs have not changed. And I would even argue that the need is even bigger. Because if we are working fast, but we're working in very different directions, the fastness is not really helping us. We're actually just going to get into chaos. So the pace has accelerated, and maybe there's also kind of the question from the employee's perspective, how much do I want to invest into L&D? How much is this training really going to benefit me if I can just ask Claude and get it done, right? So there's really a question also, how much am I willing to invest? And what I've seen is our coaching programs, our manager development programs, and our team cohesion and effectiveness programs have still been very much demanded, whereas other things have maybe slightly fallen apart where the need is no longer that big.
That's super interesting, and also I'm excited to hear that from you because so one thing when you said that maybe the use of the books are not that relevant anymore. That was something that hurts me actually, but just because I'm clearly a book lover, but I do understand, I get your point. I think what you're saying here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like the needs, it's still there, is the same, and it might be even amplified. But the way we get to the learning, so the channel that we use, the tool that we use has changed. So the mode actually.
Yes,
And
and maybe just one thing also to add to it, because I'm a huge book lover, and actually I feel like it would be good if we would read more books and actually focus and train our attention again. But what I'm also seeing is a lot of pressure from companies, especially leadership, to accelerate, to do things in a faster and smarter way. So if I'm an employee, I have to get things done in a more effective and fast way. I not really have the time to read a whole book on a topic, and I will look for the fastest and most effective solution in that moment, right? So it's a bit of a short-term thinking in a way, but I think it's also that pressure to kind of keep up with things that leads people to sometimes make those decisions on, is it really worth it to read a book, or can I just quickly find a solution?
wow, that's a really food for thought, especially being within being within the machine of the organization. I totally get the point of accelerating. I think we could argue here what actually more effective, smarter, faster actually means. We could argue because then the question is like, what does it stick really from a learning standpoint if what we want it's just to be smarter and get the results and the outcomes, right? And this actually might be like the perfect bridge for the net question as well, because the way you've been actually leading initiative projects, strategies as L&D specialist manager, it was, and I lived on my own skin. I experienced it on my own skin. It was like having a very deep approach, that sort of inner work, which is always the hardest work, but that leads in the end to the real transformation. So you are a certified coach, strengths-based. So every time you were doing like a very unique ad hoc probably work with the people you were working with, finding their own strength, using of course tools and tests and things already standardized. But then I remember there was like a certain follow-up for everyone. So how a approach like yours has changed the experience in the experience of the employee or the person itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. And also I have to say that we really, as a team, we really were looking at, okay, how can we make sure that our efforts from the L&D team and the coaches is going to really make a lasting impact on the team or on the person who's going to participate. So we also really thought about what you mentioned earlier, what is going to stick with people, right? We don't want people just to rate highly our initiative in the moment and then forget about it afterwards. So I've been specifically focused on coaching programs. And with this, I mean, the initiatives that I designed were over several weeks, if not months, really kind of taking into consideration how can the person go from self-awareness, the aha moment of, oh, wow, these are actually my talents, this is my strength, to assess, okay, how am I using it in my day-to-day? Which ones would I like to use more? How can I have the conversation with my manager? To then put it even into the piece of the puzzle of the whole team and look at, okay, within the team, where's my piece? Where am I unique in what I bring to the table? And I actually enjoy doing that. So it was really the strengths journey, for example, for teams, was really a journey that went from individual assessments to coaching to then a team workshop, and then even afterwards kind of follow-ups to really see how the team is adopting the philosophy. To make sure that we consider the different aspects of it, right? And to see also, like, to see it as a whole, to see the team as individual contributors, the manager, and to really see what are the needs of this group and how can we attend those. So what I've seen is that the people who use their strengths after 6 months, after 9 months, even after a year, has been significantly higher since we started to really roll out the whole journey and not just have a one-off event in a way, which ultimately also makes sense from the L&D perspective, because what you're doing is you're really taking advantage of the effort that you're putting into the team and making sure that the impact is there, right? So it makes also sense from a more cost-effective perspective. But I would say for them, it's really experience they will remember because it has been different touch points and different angles. So we also really make sure that it's experience that will stick with people. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I'm reflecting, right? Because so why we are asked to push the accelerator somehow on getting faster results, on being on the same race as AI, and this kind of things, because there are multiple projects and initiative right now going on within companies, right? That, as you were saying before, leaders are asking actually to push that accelerator button. So I'm just thinking, what is the balance there? What is the compromise between this is the human work that we need to do and it takes time because we want sustainable outcomes and results and we need to be faster?
Yeah, and I think that's a $1 million question to really find the balance between the two. I mean, because I think all my education and my experience has been very much heavy towards understanding the human, understanding how our brain functions, how our nervous system functions, right? And something that I've noticed is, and this we have data that we see that the rise of anxiety, of burnout happening at the same time while companies are going faster, quicker, making more profits, technology is advancing a lot. So there is definitely a breach, right? There's a gap between the experiences and maybe also the expectation and what people can actually bring to the table. The inner work is not something that you can push people to do. There needs to be an environment of psychological safety, which has to do with the culture of the company, with mistakes being allowed, but also with managers being really skilled to be a good human, I would say, and a good manager. Because that's something that the team will feel and will know. And then the question is, how fast can you get that? Because it's building trust, and trust needs also time. So for that to happen, I would question how fast those things can happen. What I do feel is we can be intentional and we can really look into like, okay, and for us to go faster, we need people to fail fast, quickly. For people to fail and they need to feel safe, right? So we need managers to make the employees feel safe enough, no? So we can kind of go back into what is needed then and really be intentional about creating that culture. I think that would be the long-term, long-term best strategy. It's not going to happen from one day to another. That's a reality.
There are so many questions popping out right now. I don't know which one to choose, but probably the first one is, how do we, because I understand and I get about like the organizational environment. You've been mentioning the culture, which is super important, the psychological safety. What are the standards and that we set actually ourselves within organizations? What do we allow? You talk about like failing faster, learning faster. This is of course like it's all about the culture, right? But what happens then when we shift from an organization to an individual level, which is also the job that you will be doing? Hopefully, I don't know what your entrepreneur journey will look like, but I'm sure that all this background of knowledge and experience that you have, and also passion, you will use it in your next journey. So I'm just thinking, because in a company, it is somehow easy to say we need the culture, we need to shape the culture, and what an individual does within the organization, it is due to the culture, right? But at individual level, actually, you have to choose what to do, how to react, how to learn, how to fail, what you can share and not to share, right? So, and also I'm living that as myself, I left the corporate environment as well. And now the experience is totally different. I don't have, for example, a upskilling program myself that I belong to. So I have to do the hard work all by myself. So how do you see that shift from organization level to the individual level in comparison of what we were doing before, the balance with the accelerator? You have to do things fast, otherwise you will lose the race, right? Or and how individuals are actually equipping themselves with those tools or inner work?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think what I've seen is like different types of people handling the situation differently. I think overall, I would say like what I've seen 3 categories. Maybe there will be more in the future, but I've seen 3 categories.
It's a really good structure.
I would say like the very first one is people who are, and this also we have to acknowledge, right? Like people who are overwhelmed by the quantity of new things coming in and the pressure of doing things faster, and kind of that moment of like almost getting frozen, right? And not really knowing in which direction to go and what to do, and like kind of that sense of overwhelm. And I would say those people like might end up going into anxiety, burnout, etc. But it's really like kind of just an overload of what's they're capable of doing. Then there are other people who, in order to get fast, and I think this is what we touched on earlier, it's just like, okay, I'm not going to read a whole book on a topic. I just want a quick solution. So kind of delegating a lot of the thinking to the AI, and just in a way, like maybe almost starting to lose a bit the own critical thinking part and the own kind of I'm in power of my project, of my work, right? And seeing that everyone around you is sending AI written emails, so I'm going to do the same, and just kind of delegating things. And I think there's also a risk of really losing your own criteria, which is why we need people and the expertise. And then there's another and the last group of people, which I hope it will increase, and there will be more and more who learn how to handle it, which is what, and I have a few examples around me where I see it's beautifully managed, how people really, I have two people concretely in mind who realize what they're good at. They know exactly what they bring to the table. They know what they like doing, and they also are aware of the things that they don't enjoy as much. It's almost like an entrepreneurial thinking of how can I delegate the things that I don't enjoy doing that much, and I know that the tool can help me, or there's a system in place that can help me, so that I can have more time to actually do the hard work that I'm really specialized in myself, right? Being aware of what you're good at and kind of tying it back to what I would call strengths. But those people that I refer to, they are not necessarily using the strengths framework per se, but really asking yourself, what is the things that you enjoy doing? What are you really good at? And what are the things that are required for your position, for example, that you don't enjoy as much, which could be automated, delegated, etc. But then kind of as if you were the CEO and you really decide on what are the parts that I'm going to delegate now. And the delegation is finding the right tool that can help you with that, right? So for example, I'm recording a podcast. I want it to be in many different languages. Well, I can do the whole translation myself, or I can find a tool to help me with that. So I feel like what I've seen is that it can really help people amplify what they're good at, because they will have much more time to focus on that, and at the same time delegate the things that maybe take more time and are not that enjoyable. So it's also a way of managing your own energy, right? To really focus on the things that you're good at.
I really, really loved the structure that you gave, you know, the three kind of categories of people and how they are actually interacting and reacting with AI connected to their strength. So just to recap, the first group is actually people who are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the pace, by what everything is happening, and they kind of want to grow, of course, and learn, but they're like in that misa yet where they want to do perhaps too many things, and starting is also a little bit difficult. So they keep feeling overwhelmed. The second category is actually like about those people who are preferring that fast approach, maybe compromising their own strength and cognitive skills as well, because they prefer to, rather than like reading the whole book, they will just go for the results. They will maybe read the summary. And this is outsourcing, right? Their own uniqueness. I keep reading a lot and also thinking a lot about losing our identity. This is creating so many. You were mentioning before burning out, anxiety problems. I think identity crisis is also some big problem that we're already facing, maybe not that loud yet, but it will come in the next, probably already the next year. Because when you are aware of your strength and you decide consciously not to use them just because you need to be faster, that is definitely causing some erosion in your own identity. And then the third one is actually the one that gives me the most hope. And I also do agree with you. I hope this group of people will be growing and increasing. Is those people that being so aware of what they want and what they like, what they dislike, and their uniqueness and strength, decide mindfully and consciously to use AI just to delegate what they actually dislike or they're not so good at, so they can actually focus on the value that they can still add as humans.
100%. Yeah. And maybe just one example also to that. I passed by yesterday in my co-working, there was a workshop which was use AI to become a one-person development, to have a one-person development team. And it's basically, if you think about it, anyone can create a prototype of a potential app or service or solution at this point, knowing how to use the tool, but also very much being the creative mind behind it and then delegating the more technical skills, which, if you think about it, is hugely empowering for really anyone, no? But also for us to then opt for it and say, what am I really passionate about? What do I really want to make a difference in? And then use the tools, no, to get it going. So I do feel like I hope that last group will grow and people will be more fulfilled at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, might be like maybe, I feel like I passed through the 3 different stages of the categories that you. So maybe if we shift a little bit the way we look at it, it's not like because we want to have like a growth mindset, right? So it's not like, or rather you belong to a category or you don't, but it's more a stage of change and transformation where
100%.
the first stage is actually panicking a little bit, this freezing mode from our nervous system, like, oh my God, something is changing. I resist, I get just frozen, whatever. And then you start doing things. Exactly what happened to me. The first reaction, it was like, oh my God, I'm not sure. I don't want from where do I need to start? Then I just started, whatever. And then I found myself delegating things that I didn't want to delegate. So again, I went a little bit down with the enthusiasm of the AI and technology itself because I felt that sort of identity crisis, that erosion, even on very basic tasks like writing emails, post, whatever. And then I realized, hey, wait a minute, I'm good at doing those things. I don't need to outsource that. So where I put my energy, right? And so it's there where I decided to say, okay, I'm passionate about this. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at. So I'm starting prototyping things. I start playing with things, and I wasn't much a technical person, but then you acquire skills and you get amplified by the technology itself. What it changed is actually having that awareness in your strength, what you want to do and how you want to use AI for your own purpose.
Exactly. The inner work that that you cannot delegate to anyone.
Yes. Yes. And actually it makes you still keep the enthusiasm for AI higher than before. Like, I really like this part, this reframing we've been co-creating. Okay. So Khatoun, tell me a little bit more then about your plans, about how you are thinking about how to use your added value in this AI word and transformation. I know it's a big question. You don't have all the answer.
No, and I'm in the process, and I think that's also the beauty of it, because I'm allowing myself to explore, to see what are the things that I love doing, what fits into the time, what we're at. I feel really that I currently very much feel that the human factor is so important that we one thing, for example, that I'm thinking a lot about is because of AI, but also because of social media, very fast we get into bubbles of being surrounded by people who have the same thought or the same mindset that we have, maybe the same political perspective. And I mean, at the end, the algorithm will make you see things that you will continue looking at, right? So we end up in a quite polarized world. And I feel also, actually, one of the questions that we had also discussed is like the human factor and the potential loss of how do we deal with conflict. Because if the moment I see there's a bit of a discrepancy between you and me, I would much rather go and ask the chatbot which I'm not going to have a fight with, right? So why would I invest in a relationship, and which will also require me to work on that and give maybe constructive feedback and have challenging conversation, if I can just do that with a bot? And then on the other side, we go back to, I mean, that's a very humanistic perspective, but we go back to what makes people live happy and full lives. And community and relationships are one of the first things that are listed in the studies that have really seen where people live long and happy lives. So there's a question of are we trying to escape the uncomfortableness of building relationship and going the fast and easy way of just having that with a bot? But then how satisfied, how fulfilled are we going to feel within time. So I think that's something that I'm currently kind of exploring and also seeing like it happens, and the need, which I think for us to learn also how to look at the same issue from different perspectives and not get too much bought into our own view. So I think that's something that, with AI and algorithms, it's just getting more amplified as a need.
So you're basically opening like a sort of Pandora's vase, so there are so much things in there. You've been mentioning the human factor, the relationship as like finding a sort of shortcuts, right? For relationships by skipping like the most uncomfortable truth and the efforts. Yeah, so many things to reflect on. I'm thinking going back again to that going deeper work, the inner work. You recently, I think you're just about to finish your studies, right, as Gestalt therapist. How do you see the combination of this knowledge, the Gestalt, the coaching, the learning with AI? Do you have like a sort of visualization of how your work is gonna combine all those factors?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still open to see where things will lead. Right now, I do have a perspective that I'm open to change in the future. But right now, I have to say that I really feel like there's a pull that is happening in society, which is we are looking for spaces that are electronic free. I wouldn't even say AI free, but electronic free. Because in order for like you and me to really have a deep connection, to have a moment where you feel seen, where you feel heard, where you feel safe enough to open up and to tell me something that's been on your mind, on your heart, you need me to feel that I'm fully, that my full attention is with you, that I'm here with you, it's safe, right? If I would now just take my phone and look at my phone and say, oh, sorry, Roberta, I just got a message I quickly have to get back to, something broke. Instantly something broke. And it's gonna make it much more difficult to go back to that, right? So what I'm feeling is there are a lot of people going to in-person events. There are whole kind of themes coming up, which is like offline communities, which are getting a lot of people coming towards because we're looking for that space where we can just be human, you and me, right? So my current perspective is that I think there needs to be a space where we can be very, very human again and touch into those, into those spaces and create those spaces intentionally. Then going back to our world where we do have AI and all of the technology to help us and amplify it, right? But I do feel like for the deep work to happen, there needs to be that space where it's electronic and AI free too.
Hmm. That's really, really great, Khatoun. It resonates a lot to me. This is, I mean, we've been discussing about this. I think it's been already like quite a few months where we've been in touch through LinkedIn, that we met again, that we had a conversation. We are helping each other. And I think this is beautiful. That's actually the connection. So it resonates what you were saying before as well on the polarized word. Is like on one side, you really see this huge acceleration of technology, of AI, of everything like being, the agents. And on the other side, there is this new phenomenon that is increasing because of the human needs to real connection, not only AI free, but even more like the presence. And I'm seeing that every day on myself as specifically, I would say also, and with other people. So this is beautiful. And that's also why the in real life events and communities are actually increasing a lot. Saying that, with these human needs at the core, I'm going to ask you one last question, which is actually like maybe like a sort of statement or encouragement for people. Why do we still need to work on our uniqueness, on our strength within this AI world?
I think it's now even more important to, like, if it ever has been important, now it's even more important to know our uniqueness, to know what really lights us up, and to be brave enough to stand with it. I think the people who are like, I mean, just a very tiny example, there are some companies who are specifically now hiring neurodivergent talent because the way of thinking is very unique, right? And so how uniqueness is going to be the difference between, because if things can be optimized, they can be optimized. They don't need you or me to put anything in that's already standardized, right? They will need the uniqueness. So I think the more we can connect with ourselves and know what is the thing that is driving me, what are the things I'm really good at, what's important to me, right? It's going to come from a much more genuine place from ourselves, but then also it's exactly the piece that we can contribute that no one else can.
That's a beautiful message. It's like our own human uniqueness. It is actually our competitive advantage and also the source of joy.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, that's beautiful, Khatoun. Thank you so much.
Thank
Do
you.
you want to add anything else?
I think that was a very complete session. I mean, we could talk more and more. Maybe we can do it again in some
I'm sure
amount
we
of
can.
time. But yeah, I'm very happy with what we discussed so far.
Nice. So I really thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Khatoun. I will see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.